So the IDF resumed its operations in the Gaza Strip against Hamas. And we are here with the IDF international spokesman, Nadav Shoshani. Nadav, what can you tell us about the last 24 hours here in Israel? Lots of things happening.
Well, let's take a step back for the recent 2-3 weeks. Last time hostages were released was a few weeks ago, and ever since there have been negotiations on the next step in this agreement. And in that time, Hamas has been not moving forward in the negotiations, and at the same time, trying to rearm, trying to prepare for terror attacks. You know, they have spoken publicly saying October 7th was great, and we plan on doing it again. We will try and do it again. And you know, we take their threats very seriously, and we also saw the way they were operating on the ground. We have received indications that they are planning terror attacks against our troops, but more importantly, against our civilians. And one thing that we promised after October 7th is never again, and we meant it. We will make sure Hamas has no capabilities that can harm our civilians in those communities in the Western Negev, right outside of Gaza. You know, those places are a kilometer or two from people's houses. It's a running distance. So what we did is last night we opened an aerial campaign of aerial strike dozens of targets, of terror infrastructure, of rocket launchers, of senior terrorists who are able to conduct or direct those types of terror attacks. And we've been operating ever since to remove that threat and to apply military pressure on Hamas.
Well, definitely. And what you said is that the Israeli citizens have returned. I mean, some of them returned to their houses on the border with the Gaza Strip. And Hamas is trying to carry out additional attacks also against the IDF and against civilians. We've heard reports of attempts to launch drones to either gather information against the IDF troops, as well as to plan additional attacks. I mean, in the beginning days of this war, they used drones in order to drop bombs on our forces. So this might be a new tactic that they're trying to do. We also understand that Hamas has been recruiting new fighters, and the average age of a fighter in the Gaza Strip is around 16 years old, meaning that there are younger soldiers, terrorists being recruited into the Hamas ranks in the Gaza Strip. What's different about this strike compared to the previous strikes that we carried out against Hamas, like while we were maneuvering? According to the reports that I've seen, this was like the biggest aerial strike since the ground maneuver in the Gaza Strip. What was different about it? Is it because we received additional ammunitions, or we were just very angry at Hamas this time?
The reason we attacked, and this was a very wide attack of dozens of targets, of terror targets, simultaneously in an IDF operation throughout the night. And the reason is because we see they are remaining in their ways where they want to conduct terror and they want to hold the hostages. And secondly, understanding they're moving forward, they're pushing forward towards a terror attack. And we learned on October 7th, we're not going to wait for them to act, for us to act back. We will act in a preemptive way. We'll make sure that our civilians are not in harm's way. And, you know, in our region, and you know it very well, in our region, security is not given. Security is earned. You have to fight for the security of your people. That's exactly what we did last night, and we plan to do it moving forward. And more importantly, we remember those 59 hostages still in Gaza. We're applying pressure on Hamas, and we hope this pressure leads up to either operations to release the hostages or a military pressure that can lead up for the right conditions for the next deal in which the hostages are returned home.
Yeah, definitely. And can you tell us what are the objectives of this war? Are these the same objectives of releasing the hostages and defeating Hamas? Or are there new objectives for this resumed fighting?
The objectives of the war have been very clear and hasn't changed since day one. One is to dismantle Hamas military and governing capabilities, which we've had a lot of achievements in. We've been able to take out most of their senior chain of command. We have been able to eliminate somewhere around 20,000 terrorists. We have been able to take a lot of their infrastructure, but there's still ways to go. And the second goal is to return the hostages. I remind you, in the beginning of the war, there were 255 hostages in Gaza. Right now, there are 59 hostages in Gaza. So we have moved a lot forward, but there's still more to go. We won't stop operating until all of those hostages are home. You know, for us in Israel, we have a saying, each person is a world of its own. And until every and each and one of those 59 are home, we won't stop operating.
In the beginning of this war, Hamas was basically a terror military. It had brigades, it had platoons, it was structured. What kind of Hamas are we facing now? And are the threats to the IDF forces any different than what it was from the early days of before launching October 7?
Hamas, we have been able to have great achievements against the terror army, as you correctly said. And they moved kind of to a guerrilla type of warfare, is what we've seen recently. But most importantly, they were trying to take advantage of the ceasefire time to regroup and rearm and kind of reestablish their military frame, their chain of commands, their commanders, and all of that. And that is why we need to operate against them. We need to make sure that they are not able to go back to where they were on October 6th or October 7th, 2023. We are making sure they're getting more and more diminished along time, because even though we've had great achievements in the past, in the last 17, 18 months, we need to make sure those achievements are kept, that Hamas doesn't take back what we have been able to take away from them.
So Nadav, one last question. We have, thousands or hundreds of thousands of IDF troops that have been called to the area of Gaza to apply pressure on Hamas. Is the IDF planning on using these ground forces to conduct a larger operation, including ground maneuver into the Gaza Strip?
Well, we have a different set of plans. We have a plan to move forward, and we need to decide how we carry out that plan. We've put more forces first and foremost for defense. We want to make sure there's no incident, not even one small incident, where our civilians are in danger. We have prepared with our aerial defense systems. We have prepared with more troops on the ground. We have prepared with different ways of making our readiness on the border higher. And obviously all options are on the table. And also we are preparing, if needed, if directed by the government, to have a ground operation in Gaza.
Thank you so much, Nadav, and Godspeed. Stay safe. Thank you for everything you're doing defending the country of Israel. Guys, Nadav Shoshani, the international IDF spokesman.
Thank you for having me, Yair.
Hello, this is Mati here in Jerusalem with TBN Israel.
This is Yair Pinto from TBN Israel here in Jerusalem. TBN Israel is keeping viewers informed with Israel-focused news, culture, and what God is doing in this land.
Support TBN Israel today online at tbn.org/Israel. Thank you.